Okay, so, well, depending on where you're all logging in from, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all the attendees who are joining us today from different parts of the world. I'm very pleased to welcome you all to the 70th UN Commission on the Status of Women virtual parallel session titled Women and Climate Justice, Women's Voices Among Survivors of Climate's Catastrophe. Before we proceed further, please note that this event will be recorded and shared later on various social media platforms. Additionally, if you have any questions, please type them in the chat box, and we will try to address them towards the end of the session as time permits. So my name is Aditya Divya Singh, and I will be moderating today's session. I work at a university in India in the field of German and intercultural studies, multilingualism, and language pedagogy, and I've been associated with Servas for several years now. I'm also joined by my colleagues, John Cavett, who will be helping with technical support during the session, as well as Carla. So, as many of us are aware, climate crisis is one of the most pressing issues of our time. It not only threatens the environment directly, but also impinges on human rights by posing risks to the livelihoods, health, safety, and security of people around the world. To make matters worse, climate crises are not gender neutral and disproportionately affect women and girls. For example, a UN Spotlight brief in 2025 highlighted that there is a 28% increase in femicide during heat waves. It is also estimated that women and girls form 4 out of 5 people displaced by the impact of climate change. However, on the flip side, due to their position on the front lines of climate crisis, women are uniquely situated at the helm of change to be voices of climate justice. One such example is Servas International, the host of this parallel session. Established in 1949, it is a global peace organization working in more than 100 countries to build understanding, cultural exchange, and grassroots actions for a more just and sustainable world. Through one of its constituents, Savas Women, it is dedicated to helping women and girls achieve their potential by advocating for their empowerment, equality, and the necessity of basic human rights. Today, we highlight women leaders who are not only taking climate catastrophe head on, but also transforming their communities through resilience and advocacy, individually and also through their organizations. For our discussion today, we are joined by Paige Lacombe, Servas International member and founder of Servas Women, Fatima Tachem of Climate for Sisterhood Centered in New York City, Ilya Carson Letelier, co-founder of Chipatso in Malawi and also Servas International member, Nadia Rdeni of the Lighthouse Peace Initiative in Lebanon, Sandhya Jayatilaka, Servas International member from Sri Lanka, and Susana Martinez Duro, National Secretary of Servas Spain. So a very warm welcome to all our panelists today. Before we proceed further, I would like to point out that all of our speakers will have about 8 minutes to present their topics, followed by question and answer sessions at the end of today's session. So I request all the speakers to please maintain the time allocated to them. So off we go then. Our first speaker, Paige Lacombe, is the founder of and the current chair of Servas Women. She has been actively involved in various initiatives across East Africa and contributes to Servas International, which promotes peace through cultural dialogue and hosting and traveling. Unfortunately, she recently lost her home in the Los Angeles area along with 13,000 other families. Paige, I invite you to please share your experience.
Thank you, Adita. Thank you so much for introducing me. And it is such an honor to be here with all of you. I am just curious. I don't know if you could raise your hand if you're from Servas International. I know we have a lot of people here from around the world, and we also have a lot of people, if you're from an NGO or you volunteer or climate justice is something you're interested in, just raise your hand or put a thumbs up. That's great. Um, so it's something I've been interested in for quite a long time, but I didn't know it would affect me so personally. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story. Next slide, please. Um, so when we talk about climate catastrophe, it can sound like a distant concept to me personally. Sometimes it's measured in scientific reports or projections about the future. But for many people around the world, climate change is no longer theoretical. It's something they've lived through. So I'm here to tell you my story, and it happened on January 7th of 2025. My family experienced this firsthand when the fire swept through Altadena and destroyed our home. In a matter of hours, the place that held our memories and the rhythm of our daily lives was gone. And in that moment, climate change stopped being an abstract conversation and became for me a deep personal reality. Next slide, please. Um, pardon me. Today, millions of people around the globe are facing similar losses from floods,
See you later. Thank you.
storms, droughts, and wildfires, and that are becoming more frequent and much more intense. These changes are particularly visible in places like where I live in California, where wildfire seasons have grown longer and more severe. In this conversation, I want to share not only the reality of these situations, but share my own experience, but also why the voices of survivors, especially women and community leaders, are essential in shaping how we respond to climate crisis and how we build a more resilient future. So some of the things, okay, next slide, please. Yes, last year, 2025, was the third warmest year ever on record. Researchers studying science increasingly emphasize that climate change is not only just an environmental issue, but it's also a social and humanitarian issue. Climate change also affects human systems, food security, changing rainfall and temperatures affect crops, health stress, air pollution, disease can spread and increase, migration, climate disasters are forcing people to move. Economic cost, rebuilding after disasters can cost billions of dollars globally every year. So today I plan to tell you my story because climate catastrophe is not only an environmental issue, it's a human story about homes, communities, and about the resilience of people who must rebuild after climate catastrophe. Next slide, please. This is my family and this is my home, and we never saw it coming. It began on a very normal day, with one exception. There was a wild windstorm. There was weather conditions that were dangerous and the power grid was strained. The National Weather Service issued two red flag alerts for Altadena area on January 6th and January 7th, meaning the wind and weather conditions created an increased risk of fire danger. On January 7th, the agency added an additional rare warning, advising that conditions in Altadena over the next 2 days were so dangerous that they qualified for the most extreme advance notice that can be issued. They issued a warning called hurricane strength wind. Next slide, please. The afternoon around 4 p.m., the power lines went down and caught the brush on fire. The wind fanned the fire on and on, collecting burning brush and spreading it quickly to more and more area within a 5-mile radius. We initially didn't even realize there was a firestorm coming. When my family called to warn us urgently to leave, we wondered why there was no evacuation alerts from the city. We rushed out to see fire in the sky and fire that was quickly approaching our home. We quickly grabbed a few boxes and we invited our elderly neighbor to evacuate with us and her dog. Next slide. I never imagined that climate change would take my home, but it did. By the next day, my home was completely gone, and all that was left was cinder and ash. In addition, 9,000 other families lost their home that night. In addition, there was another fire on the other side of Los Angeles where people also lost their home. Next slide, please. When the fires tore through Altadena, everything familiar disappeared in smoke and ash. The place where my family gathered, the home where we celebrated our holidays, the place where my husband and I were married and raised our children was gone. Our home was more than walls and a roof. It held a story of our family. Next slide, please. And there's my husband after the fires. The day the fires swept through Altadena, our home disappeared in a matter of hours. What had taken a lifetime to build, rooms filled with books, photographs, family keepsakes, and the quiet rhythms of daily life, was suddenly reduced to ash. In the days afterwards, the loss felt overwhelming. Next slide, please. What I learned through this experience is that climate change is not a distant scientific debate. It's personal, it's immediate, and it's happening to ordinary people and families right now. The fires left the community devastated and thousands of families displaced. In this picture, you can see just how many homes were affected. The red is where all the homes that were caught on fire. Next slide, please. The January 2025 Eaton fire in Altadena destroyed over 9,000 homes and more than 9,400 structures, including commercial buildings, making it one of the most destructive fires in California history. The fire caused 17 deaths and severely impacted our community. Next slide, please. But I do want to tell you a few positive things that happened in our community after the fires. Have you ever heard of the World Central Kitchen? It's a wonderful lifesaver for our community in the days following the fires. They set up bistro trucks in 3 or 4 areas of Altadena, and anyone could get a hot meal. And on top of that, the meals were fabulous. They tasted great. We often went more than once a day, and we could get as many as we needed to feed our family. Next slide. In Altadena, it's been a year since the fires, but campaigns sprang up right away. Altadena is strong, we will rebuild, and Altadena is not for sale. Those local campaigns really built up the community, and we needed that going forward to try and rebuild. It meant that our community was not for sale we didn't want developers to come in. We wanted to rebuild our neighborhood and our neighbors to return. Next slide. So, like the pandemic, when people left and the properties were abandoned after the fires, nature returned. We saw flowers and trees start to make a comeback over the last year. And in my yard, a giant deer was living there and drinking out of the local pond. Next slide, please. So, after the fires destroyed our home, our family began the slow process of rebuilding, which has been extremely stressful for me and my family, and also the community around me. Some of our key hurdles include severe insurance payout gaps, high construction costs, and complex, slow permitting processes. Many residents still remain displaced, dealing with both financial strain and trauma. A year later, 70% of Altadena damaged properties are showing little or no progress. Rebuilding in Altadena following the Eaton fire is severely hampered by hazardous toxic contaminants, including arsenic, asbestos, and high levels of lead from burn infrastructure. Next slide. I do want to tell you about Lee Adams. She's a neighbor who also lost her home, but she's become a local hero in our community. She's creating community classes and hands-on workshop to help to teach others how to restore the toxic soil into to natural soil left from the fires. Next slide. There's also a Rotary group, a local Altadena Rotary, that's been granting small businesses in Altadena $10,000 a week to help them to rebuild. And this has been really uplifting for our community. Next slide. One other person I want to tell you a bit about is Nina Raj. She also she's a community activist who's gathered indigenous seeds and she's been dispersing them for free in a program called Seeds Library, which is pictured here. Next slide, please. My family would love to rebuild our home. We have future generations to think about. You could play it again. This is my sweet granddaughter, Clementine. After losing everything, I've come to realize, sorry, I'm feeling emotional because this is really traumatic for me, but it's not the home that's important, it's the family. Next slide, please. This is my final slide. Sorry about that. When the fires happened, I was so grateful for Servos and all the friends that I've made through Servos. So many reached out to see if I was okay. And many offered stays for my family, even though it was around the world and I didn't have a place to stay. I knew that Servos was a place I could go to, and the members of Servos opened their doors for me. So my story is just one among thousands, but the lesson is clear. Climate change is no longer it is a present threat. It is a present reality. As we rebuild our lives and we carry a renewed commitment to speak about what disasters mean for families and communities everywhere. Rebuilding is not just about constructing a house, it's about finding resilience, strengthening our communities, and working towards a future where fewer families have to experience this kind of loss. I want to thank everyone for being here on this call, and I want to thank you again for listening. And I appreciate all that you're doing to help people who are going through climate catastrophes like me. Thank you.
Thank you, Paige. I'm really sorry that you and your family and so many other people had to experience something like this. But thank you for sharing um, a heart-touching and a deeply personal story with all of us. And what I'm glad that you had that support of community, and it really highlights how, when communities come together, how much of a change and difference they can make. So, on that note, I would like to take us to our next speaker, um, who is Fatimata Chan. She is a human rights activist, poet, and the founder of Climate for Sisterhood. Climate for Sisterhood is a global network advancing climate justice through women's leadership, and through her organization, Fatimata advocates for centering women and marginalized communities in climate decision making, emphasizing that gender equality and climate action are inseparable. So, welcome, Fatimata.
Thank you for that thank you for that lovely introduction. Super excited to be here and sharing space with you all. I want to start with a simple but powerful truth. Climate change is not just an environmental issue, it's a human issue. And more importantly, it's an issue of equity. Today, I'm going to be talking about Climate for Sisterhood. As Aditya mentioned, a global initiative focused on centering women and marginalized communities in the fight against climate change. Now you might be wondering why my focus is on women. Here's an important fact. According to the United Nations, women make up about 80% of people displaced by climate change. At the same time, they are also some of the most effective leaders in developing sustainable solutions within their communities. So, in founding this organization, I had to kind of ask myself, if women are such effective leaders, why aren't we hearing their stories? Next slide. My personal purpose is to advocate for women's rights and stories within the climate space so that we build solutions that are not only intersectional, but reflective of who is being the most impacted within our society. I aspire to work by empowering others, centering collaboration and honesty, because I believe that it's important to include people in your work because ultimately you're trying to serve the community. Their input is just as important as your own perceptions and ideas. And growing up as a low income person here in the South Bronx of New York, I grew up in one of the most disenfranchised communities with lack of access to funding. And I saw that early on in around 2022 when there was a fire that had occurred in a Bronx fire, and we had lost 22 people from our community. And there was a lack of coverage because the people that had died in that fire were predominantly immigrants and also people from the Senegalese and Ghanaian community. And so that kind of motivated me and empowered me to want to continue to build something like Climate for Sisterhood. Next slide. So I mentioned a bit about our mission, and the initiative dedicated to like centering these women. But you might be asking yourself like how we do that. And we take like a more frontline approach to how we continue to center people across the globe. One of the core things is platforming those voices. I found that storytelling is such a powerful tool. So, when women share their lived experiences, whether it's like dealing with extreme weather, food insecurity, or lack of resources, it really puts a human face on the climate issue. And also with Climate for Sisterhood, our primary goal is just being action oriented. So it's not just about talking about these issues, but also doing. So we've like collaborated with a bunch of organizations to lead advocacy campaigns, community projects, and also encouraging young women into leadership roles. One of my founders at the moment is actually one of the first stories I shared on our platform. Her name is Cynthia Anaba, and she's based in Ghana. And I was able to provide funding for her to start planting trees in her local community. So it's just really about resource sharing and ensuring that although not everyone has equal access to climate education or tools, that we're trying to really bridge that gap. Next slide. So as I mentioned before, these are our core values of not only platforming the voices, being action oriented, having educational initiatives, building community, and then also resource sharing. But a core one that I wanted to highlight was community building. You cannot do this work alone. And I found that within Climate for Sisterhood, building this space, working with other women, on the ground and helping to really support and uplift each other has been a very great way for us to really address the core issues that we're seeing. Next slide. So our target audience is young women and girls between the ages of 15 and 30. I found that working with this demographic has not really, I don't know, really touched me in the sense that I'm also 25, so I'm in that like mid-range area. But also I've been able to reach activists, community leaders, and also like policymakers to really help to facilitate real change. And I will also say, like, first with environmental responsibility, I've learned a lot and engaged in learning that it's really about like minimizing waste, using sustainable materials, and like reducing the carbon footprint of all these activities. So, in collaborating with these different demographics of people, we've really been able to see that real impact. Next slide. So these are some of the people that I have been able to connect with and really impact. So I basically created like an intake form and also conducted several interviews, just really trying to understand the connection between climate and gender and what work needs to be done. You may see some men on the screen as well, because I've also taken the time to really interview them and gain perspective of how women in their personal lives have been impacted by climate change and like what local action that they want to see. Some of the pain points that I've been able to identify with having all of these conversations is that people have really highlighted that the main impact of climate change is a disruption to the daily routine. And we found that people who are of like wealthier status, or people who are more well off, who aren't really experiencing the deep impacts of climate change, are able to go through their daily lives without really feeling the physical or mental impacts. And then also, we've also found that there's a lot of lack of policy that represents the impact climate change is having on women. I started this work early on, really focusing on like issues pertaining to gender equality, but a lot of the policy here in the US doesn't really focus on the impact that it's having on women. And then we also, a core pain point was a minimization of women's role in implementing climate solutions. Women don't feel heard. A lot of the times, I think one core or thing that sticks out to me is one conversation that I had with a participant in the interview that I conducted. And she was like, I would say something, or she would provide a solution, and no one would like cheer her on or like I guess help to facilitate the solution. But if someone else or a classmate of hers that was male would say the same exact thing, there would be like a different response. So there's just a lot of minimization around like what women can really contribute or bring to the table. And then the additional pain point that we found was lack of access to media tools to share their story. So a lot of the times there isn't like a platform or a sense of direction for where they can share their story. So we also found out to be a core pain point. And so that kind of led me to building out Climate for Sisterhood by addressing these pain points. So I'm building out awareness programs, ambassadorship programs, and also leadership development programs. So through this fellowship, I was able to provide grants for the women who have participated in Climate for Sisterhood to be able to start building their own projects on the ground. There were a lot of bright spots. So there was a lot of huge community support. Individuals are really interested in participating in the program and interested in me sharing their stories. But ultimately, I think even though the project centers women, I found that there's a lot of cross collaboration that needed to take place between people of the other gender as well. Next slide. So this is a bit of what's it called? Uh, a snapshot of like some of the survey responses. One of the core things that stood out to me in terms of like the demographics. So a lot of the people that responded to my survey or like interviewed with me were of Black or African American descent. And then obviously people within Asia, American Indian background, some Hispanic people as well. and some people within the Middle East. So I got a wide range of responses and conducted a wide range of interviews, and this was of around 50 women that I interviewed. So this should give you a good like snapshot of like who I was talking to, some of the questions that I was asking them, and like what their experiences were. Next slide. So how it works, like basically, we have a website, you can check it out. We essentially like have people submit their stories. We share it online. They become an ambassador, essentially become a cross collaborator with me. And with sharing their stories, they also have the option to gain funding as well. Next slide. Mhm. So some key sustainable considerations that I have like found within Climate for Sisterhood, or like within my project, really mainly have to do with like sustainable leadership and empowerment, like I mentioned earlier, like really promoting women-led climate leadership. I would say also ethical consumption. So supporting brands and media companies that are really about being eco-conscious. So I've tried my best to collaborate with media that is sustainable and willing to highlight these stories. And like I mentioned earlier, community-based action. People tend to ask me like why I continue to do this work. And I think for me personally, not just growing up low income and seeing people that look like me being impacted by climate change on a day-to-day basis. But also, I have found like true joy in like meeting people and meeting young women and seeing the impact that it's having on them. So yeah, next slide. So I think that should be the end. It was super nice or exciting chatting with you all today about my project. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Fatimata. It's really inspiring what you're doing with Climate for Sisterhood. And what really stood out in the last one or two slides was how you talk about not being able to turn a blind eye to a very real factor, that a phenomenon that affects all of us. And I think we all can be really grateful that you're contributing to mitigating the effects of climate change through your sisterhood. So thank you once again. Next, we have Ilia Carson-Latelia, who is the co-founder of Chipatso, a community-based organization in Malawi. Ilia has supported youth in the village of Cape Maclear since 2019, beginning with the sponsorship of 10 learners, and in 2023, expanding the program to more than 70 sponsorships from nursery through university. The Chipatso community now focuses on transforming lives through education and nutrition for vulnerable children and economic empowerment for single mothers. I welcome you,
Hello.
Ilya.
Thank you. It's very nice to be here. I'm having some technical difficulties with the speaker. There's a lot of static on my end. I'm not sure if people can hear me clearly or not. But the reason why we started this program was because I believe of climate change, that it affected the weather system here. And the first 2 years I was here, they were suffering from a drought. And then this year they've had extreme rain that's caused flooding. There's been more cyclones going through here than normal. It's been a mess in this village. They've really suffered a lot. So we started this program because there were a lot of single mothers here that did not have any means of supporting themselves, and a lot of children going hungry. There's a definite lack of food in this village. Malawi is a beautiful country, but it is one of the poorest in Africa. And that's why I started this program. So I'm just going to let you read through these uh, pages here yourselves. Maybe whoever is doing, when you're doing the slide, maybe somebody can just put their hand when they've done reading and maybe go to the next page. I don't know how long it's going to take people to read each thing here. We'll give a couple minutes for a minute for each one. Is that enough time? We'll go to the next slide. So because these women were unable to get jobs, we've started a sponsorship program to sponsor mothers to work here. And the mothers that work here then are cooking food for the kids that are in the nutrition program. Okay, next slide. If I'm going too fast, let me know. And next slide. Oh, we have about 60 learners here from nursery through university that we support through donations, sponsorship. So these are, probably you could see me back there somewhere. We also have single mother housing. So we supply housing to something. Okay, next slide. Because of the lack of food, most of the people here in the village have their own farms, but they depend on rain for their farms. And obviously climate change, they were not getting rain the first 2 years I was here. Now that's been raining too much. And the water's now flooding some of the homes and businesses here on the lake. So it's been a pretty big. Okay, next slide. And we're in the process of building some more businesses here to try and provide more jobs for people and to help the community in general. Next slide. And next slide. I think next is the video. Oh, we also have a lodge here for volunteers. If anyone's interested in volunteering, please, contact me. I think we'll have the information available here for people that are interested. We have 6 lodges here, and we can, what is it, house, I guess, 14 to 21 people, depending on people's share beds or not. And we are definitely groups of people to come and to help with their expertise in the different areas. Next slide. And next slide.
My name is Molongana. I am 54 years old, a woman from Kimakli in Malawi. All my life, I have lived here by the lake. I was once a married woman with 4 children. I believed my path was straight ahead of me. But my husband left just like that. He found another woman away from the village. He never sent support, never come back to see the children. Here, this is not a shocking story. In our village, land belongs to women's family. So men say, she will not sleep outside anyway. They go, and the mother remains with the children. Fatherless homes are everywhere. Our small family's farms used to produce enough maize for our basic stable of simmer. With 2 years of drought, we don't even have that. There is no hope. There is no help from the government waiting for you. My house stood on the family ground near the graveyard. The bricks were weak village clay. You pressed them and they powder in your fingers. Each rainy season, I watched the walls carefully, fearing they would return to soil. The floor was bare earth. When rain came, mud came. No running water, no electricity, only a pit toilet outside. Even soap was a luxury. At night, the darkness covered us completely. Real darkness, not the small darkness people know in towns. But still, I waked. When my first daughter reached 26, she died and left me with 3 small children. No father came to claim them. I did not have the chance to sit and cry the way my heart wanted. I became mother again. To live, I cut glass for thatching roofs. I walked far carrying a heavy bundles on my head. A whole day's work could bring maybe $1, some days less. My palms became hard. My back never stopped hurting. In 2017, my sister passed away from kidney failure. Her son remained alone, so I took him. His name was Amos, but that time my house already had many children. But when you already carry a load, one more child does not change the weight. You just adjust your shoulders. Then December 2024, Amos died from meningitis. I buried him with these same hands that have buried many loved ones. Here people die young, malaria, bilharzia, AIDS, many things. We grow up knowing death, but knowledge does not soften the pain when you cross the grave of child. Many night I asked, how much more? In August of 2023, my life turned. An organization called Chipato offered me what I never allowed myself even to dream: a proper home, not just a shelter, but a strong house, a recreational running water, indoor toilet, cement floor, beds with mattresses, a stove, even a refrigerator. The first time I switched on the light and the whole room became light, I cried like a child. I received full-time work. Every day my family eats 2 meals a day. The children go to private school. They have uniforms, books, pencils, things I was prayed for only 2 years ago. I no longer sleep worrying where tomorrow's steamer will come from. For the first time, I can plan ahead. I still carry my soul. I still remember my daughter. I still see Amos's face. But now hope also lives in my heart. My grandchildren laugh freely. They sleep on little beds. They read at night under electric light. I am 54 years old. Here, that is already many years lived. Yet for the first time, I feel the years coming may be kinder than the years behind me. My name is Molongana. My story is no longer only about surviving. It's about dignity. It is about change. It is about finally seeing a future I was thought was only for other people.
My God, walking. So that's Molangana, who lives here on site. She suffered a lot of death in her life. It's a very sad story. But we're hoping to change that for her and to have a better future for her children. And that's what we do here. At the end of all of this, so if anybody has any questions. The power just went on. Hey. We were always without power here, so the power just went on. That's good. I think that concludes my talk. I'll be happy to answer any questions at the very end.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ilya. What a wonderful coincidence that the light came on towards the end. So thank you. It's a beautiful symbolism for the kind of work that you're doing and being a beacon of light and hope for community that you inhabit. So once again, I thank you for taking up this initiative.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, it's a pleasure. Our next speaker is also a leader in her own right. So I would like to welcome Nadia Khaled Redeni. As co-founder and director of operations at the Lighthouse Peace Initiative in Manara, Lebanon, Nadia supports children, youth, and women, particularly refugees and marginalized groups, through creative, educational, and healing spaces in Lebanon's Bekaa Valley. Nadia, working at the intersection of psychosocial support, creative expression, and women's empowerment through integrated community-led approaches grounded in dignity, healing, and resilience. Over to you, Nadia.
Hello, everyone. Thank you all for joining. In many communities, silence is always inherited. Silence about the trauma, silence about inequality, silence about potential. My name is Nadia Redeni, and my work is about interrupting that silence. I'm the co-founder of Lighthouse Peace Initiative, founded in 2018 in Lebanon. At Lighthouse Peace Initiative, we work with vulnerable communities and refugees communities. We create safe spaces where creative expression become economic and social empowerment. We started with one simple belief: if you create safe space, you interrupt silence. Please, second slide. Next slide. When we started in 2018, Lebanon was already facing instability, and a lot of young people were growing up surrounded by limitation. But we didn't start with aid, we started with space. We created a center for youth and women to express themselves freely, to heal from their traumas, to see the world from another perspective, and at the same time to learn a new skill where they can use and benefit from in their lives. Because empowerment is not only about being heard, it's also about being able to stand independently in this world. Second slide. Okay, what we do at our center is educational and artistic. We do theater, filmmaking, interior design, music, painting, everything related to art. And for our educational program, we have English courses for beginner and advanced, psychosocial support, literacy, and of course, individual therapy sessions. Next slide. We believe in a simple proverb that says, "Don't give me a fish, teach me how to fish." Our main goal was a long-term work. We wanted to help our youth and women to earn and learn new skills that they are going to benefit from, and help them be financially independent in future if they use this skill. And through our work, we learned something very important. We learned that expression builds confidence, skills build independence, and community builds resilience. And when these three come together, young people and women began to imagine a different future for themselves. Next slide. The butterfly effect, and this is the most close project to me. While we used to work with the youth, we become noticing something deeper. Widow and divorced women in our community were often invisible. Many carried the stigma, emotional burden, and financial instability. So we found out they needed more than assistance. They needed dignity, safety, and voice. So we created the Butterfly Effect program. It's a program dedicated to supporting widow and divorced women as they rebuild their lives. Next, please. The Butterfly Effect was designed intentionally. First, safety. We provided self-defense training and created trusted peer spaces because empowerment always began with safety. Second, healing. We offered psychosocial support and art therapy. Art became a language when words sometimes feels unsafe. Beside the psychosocial support and art therapy, we did individual therapy sessions for the women that participated in the program. Third, economic strength. Women were trained in event setup, chocolate designing, and the main reason for this was to create a space for them to learn something new, that they can work from their homes and be financially independent. Empowerment, because at the end, empowerment without economic opportunity, it's incomplete. And at the end, we did the voice. We created a podcast. Please, second slide. Okay. Why a podcast? Because we always hear the stories of the women from the society. We never get the chance to hear their stories from their own perspective, from their own voices. So we created a respectful environment for them, where each woman has her own episode speaking about her story, her challenges, how she's overcoming it, how she's raising her kids, Also during the podcast, they were speaking about the butterfly effect program, how much they benefit from the program. And at the end of the podcast, all of them delivered one single message to the women around the world that are still suffering and are still silent. In order to them, they were encouraging them to break the cycle of silence and speak loudly about their problems, challenges, and whatever they are facing nowadays. For many of them, it was the first time their voices was not questioned, and that changed something fundamental. When women owned their narrative, they began to reclaim their power. Next, please. Okay, this is one of our successful stories. One of the women joined our filmmaking program, and the first time she entered the program, she was very quiet, silent, rarely speak. And during the program, she expressed her talent and show us her talent, because at the end of each program, at the end of the filmmaking program, we ask our student to write a short script in order to do shoot a short film. So she wrote a very powerful script about a toxic relationship with a narcissistic husband that is treating her in a bad way. She's an artist, but she was not able to dream because her husband was always preventing her from dreaming and achieving her goals. She drew a very heart-breaking painting. And during that time, I was like, oh, wow, we need to do something with this woman. She was speaking about her story. She just expressed herself through painting. So we opened a space for her, like a room full of color, full of canvas, and we asked her to draw and express herself. She drew like 13 paintings, expressing, talking about her childhood, her adulthood, her toxic relationship. She spoke about her life journey in 13 paintings. Next slide, please. And the pictures that you are seeing, it's her paintings. Next, please. We organized her first exhibition. For the first time, her story was displayed with dignity. Today, we are working to sell her paintings, not as a charity, but as a recognition of her professional identity. In many of our communities, divorce still carry deep stigma, but through art, she reclaims her identity, not as a divorced woman, but as an artist. Next, please. Why this matter? In fragile contexts like Lebanon, where communities face economic crisis, conflict, and environmental pressure, empowerment cannot be one-dimensional. It must integrate psychosocial safety, economic opportunity, and narrative dignity. Initiatives like ours operate when transformation actually began. Through our work, we have learned something very powerful. Safety builds trust, expression builds confidence, skill builds independence, voices build leadership, and when women lead, communities become more resilient. Next, please. Okay, today we are not seeking for partnership. Today we are seeking for partnership that recognize the importance of grassroots leadership, partners that provide flexible funding, platforms that shows women creative work, and collaboration that strengthens community-driven solution. We are not asking for charity, we are asking for collaboration. Next, please. Okay, before I end, I want to say one thing. Right now, communities like our in Lebanon are living through war. And for us, healing is not optional, it's urgent. So if anyone would like to support our emergency response, please feel free to contact me. Thank you. And of course, if you have any question, I'm ready to answer.
Thank you so much, Nadia. And please, yes, I would also request everyone to support Lighthouse Peace Initiative with any support that you can muster. And it's rather poetic, that the motif of butterfly comes up in terms of the butterfly effect in representation. And I felt that it was very poetic that butterflies are considered as keystone species when we talk about ecosystem. And it's becoming more and more clear with each presentation that we've had today that women are keystone elements in their societies. And I really hope that we can all take inspiration from that. I will now go on to introduce our next speaker, Sandhya Jayatilaka. She is a psychological counselor by profession, a Savas International member, and also the founder of Grace Foundation of Hope, working towards the well-being of widows, single parents, and children. In the wake of Cyclone Ditwa, which killed more than 635 people and impacted over 2 million across Sri Lanka, Sandhya provides essential water distribution and documents the severe effects on the hardest hit communities. Over to you, Sandhya. I can see you, Sandhya, but I think you are on mute. So
Can you hear me now, Aditya?
yes.
Okay. So I take this opportunity to thank everyone for giving me this opportunity to present. And I hope that you can see this. Okay, can see. Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I hope you can see this is my country, Sri Lanka. We call it the Pearl of Indian Ocean. I hope you can hear. Is it? Can you hear me?
We can hear you and we can see the presentation. Good job.
Okay. So it's about I think I'm having. Okay. So if you have not heard about Sri Lanka, or you must have heard about Sri Lanka, so it's a small island and which is really beautiful. And at the same time, we had been facing a lot of issues during the past many years. So first in 2004, we had the tsunami, where about more than 60,000 people were killed. But we rebuilt. You can see the video. The Easter attack, where more than 350 people were killed, and the financial crisis in 2022. And this time, it affected the whole of Sri Lanka. Everywhere, we cannot say just it was in one place, but it was all over. And you can see the path of it was all over affected by the cyclone district. In all 25 administrative districts were affected by the cyclone. So climate justice is not only about environment, it's about people. It is about dignity. It is about survival today. So I invite you to listen, but to feel, to reflect, and to act. So the most highest number of damages happen in the hill country, which we never expected. We never ever expected that the Kandy in the Kandy area, in Nuwara, those are the districts, and those places, we never thought the mountains will come down, but it came. And estimated damage was about $689 million. So you can see the areas, the whole country have been affected by this Ditwa cyclone. So the impact on people was not a small thing. It took away not only the physically, not only the houses or whatever the things that they collected, but the lives. And I think it's very emotional when you see people in Sri Lanka. Sometimes people pay their loans until they retire, until they come to the old age. So they collect and they take loans and build houses. So within a minute, when your house goes underwater or goes under a mountain, you can feel that pain. It's actually, you can't express that feeling. So this happened during the month of November. So we were little by little coming out of the financial crisis, and the government was doing its best to give people confidence that we can come up. But then Ditwa took away all that expectation, everything from us. So, not only the lives, so many lives were lost, and the infrastructure, economic impact is it's beyond explanation. And so many people lost even their jobs. So day-to-day work, day-to-day, the laborers, the work that they do, and upcountry people who work in estates. So all of them lost their jobs, and it uh, it was something that uh, you can't even. I think it'll take about another uh, 3-4 years to be rebuilt, because they have totally lost everything. And so the Grace Foundation of Hope is the foundation that I built. It was not just built, but then it was born from my own storms and struggles and moments when life tested me beyond measure. I became a widow at a very young age, and then I had 4 children. So I went through all the stages of hardships, but I did not give up. And that is how the Grace Foundation of Hope was built. And especially, I focus on uh, building up widows and children and single parents. So, my main thought is no one has to walk alone, and when we become the voice for the voiceless, give hope to the hopeless, and to be the hands and hearts that heal the broken. That is what we think. And during the Ditwa cyclone, it was we had to forget about everything, and then we had to get into work for the people who lost basically everything. They were left without anything, only what they were wearing. So this is the team that we are working together. And Nalin, he works as our treasurer, and this is Carmen, Manuja, Manik, Manil, Jane, and Justin, who are helping us from England. They do a little bit of contributions, because we are still, our foundation is being registered in the process of registering. So you can go through to the website and see what we do. And so during the during the Ditma cyclone, we were able to help about 200 families who lost everything. So we managed to collect almost, say you name it, we collected clothes to food items and baby items and warm clothing, umbrellas and raincoats, whatever they needed. And we had to, the difficult thing was we needed to take this far away, and the roads were broken. Roads, we couldn't travel by road, and the train services were not working. So this is, we gave them mattresses because they did not have, they were just sleeping on the floor. And Nuwara is a district where you get very uh, low temperature, so it is so cold. So they were sleeping on the floor. So we were able to get the mattresses. And this is the father of this baby. This mother, she was expecting, and she had everything arranged, and then we were told that every single thing has gone with their houses were under their houses went under the mountain. So we were able to give them everything what they need, and the most precious thing is that the baby was born without a problem, and a healthy baby. So what we do to raise funds is something that is difficult, I would say, because everyone now in Sri Lanka, everyone come together when when something happens, irrespectively of your caste and creed and your race, we come together to help. So it was a difficult thing for us to collect contributions. So we had a sale that I myself made some food items, and then we got a few things, few clothing items. And also then we maintained a list where people, if they wanted to contribute something, now the people are moving into houses, and they are trying to give, the government is helping them to uh, get them lands to build their houses, but then they need the utilities, like they need the utensils for the houses. So we are in the process of doing it. And this is one center that we gave all what they needed, and then we are continuing to do that. And then there was a very big shortage of water. So I'm happy that I was able to provide water to that Kandy district. And so the challenges, of course, is we are having very limited unstable funding. So that we are working out, we are thinking of fundraisers and how we are going to do that. And also our projects, many of our projects depend on personal networks, actually. Small scale contributions and family and friends, we do that. And also it's a challenge. Sustainability of long-term projects is a bit of a challenge for us. And emergency relief efforts like during the cyclone response can be mobilized quickly by maintaining long-term impact programs. So we are working on those, and also structured financial support and partnerships. We are thinking on those also. And resources and logistic constraints, that's again another challenge that we are thinking. Now, during this time, packing and coordinating and transport, everything we handle by ourselves. The team, and even from that team, two of them are not here in Sri Lanka. And the only male person, he's very much involved with the operation of distributing the dry rations and stuff to people from his office. So he was also not in a position to be with us. So, but we managed with difficulty, but mostly we handle everything by ourselves. So we really want to go beyond the local communities also. And through the Grace Foundation, my goal is mostly to focus on children who are in rural areas. Now I help in the southern area, deep south. They are very much, they're brilliant in their studies, but they don't have the means. So that is one goal that I have. And at the moment, we are helping 3 schools with about 700 children. So we are distributing books and planning for other things like to teach them English. And I'm collaborating with another organization where they get the exchange, youth exchange. So they get people down from other countries, the youth leaders. So at least for 6 weeks, they will be together so that they will help these children out. And that's one thing. Only thing with these floods, and sometimes the environmental hazards, those are very challenging for those people in those areas. And most of them are laborers, and they even if they have to face floods, if they have to go through all these hardships, then they are out of work. So then for them to educate the children, to give them food, those are, I think, beyond everything, I must say. So when I go, I hear a lot of stories, and as a psychological counselor, so I try to help them. I try to talk with them. And the other thing is the mental health well-being. I think it's the most important thing in a person's life. So after this Ditwa cyclone last week, when I spoke to a mother, because I'm helping a sick child in her family, but when I called to find out, she was breaking down because the daughter was going to do her higher studies, advanced level exam, but she has committed suicide. So a lot of suicide, a lot of young people commit suicide. So that is a very big challenge. And I'm thinking of, I'm planning a program to address this issue, suicide prevention awareness. So that's the work that I do. And so I want to leave you with this question that I have as we reflect on the impact of the Ditwa cyclone. I invite you to consider what practical steps are needed to turn climate justice into a real global action. It's mostly, I think, so in my country, when the rains come, they do not simply nourish the earth, they flood homes, destroy livelihoods, and rewrite the future overnight. As I told you, they they collect money, or they take loans, and they build houses for years. And then within a few hours, just within one person told me within 20 minutes, their house was uh,
Sandhya, I'm
underwater.
sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we will be running a little short of time for Susanna if we continue. So if you would like to add some concluding remarks, then we can close your presentation and move on to the next speaker. Um, I'm sorry I had to interrupt you.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
But thank you so much for sharing the beautiful insights on well, a beautiful country, but unfortunately ravaged by climate crisis. But also, it's very heartening to know that there are organizations like yours and people like yourself who are working to make a difference. So now we come to the last presenter of this session, Susana Martinez Duro, who is an educator and activist for peace and human rights, as well as the Servas National Secretary of Spain. She works on volunteer projects to improve the lives of migrants and people at risk of social exclusion. Today, she will be sharing her insights on the high altitude isolated depression, or DANA, which had affected the region of Valencia in 2024. And she would also be presenting an analysis of the lack of security for the population in case of a climate catastrophe.
Hello. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, Susanna.
Hello. So thank you for this opportunity to tell our history in about the Dana of Valencia. But my presentation is above all to ask a question to everyone, whatever they may live, regarding that the safety of their home in the face of any potential extreme weather event. It's because the climate is changing and we lack sufficient information about this subject. So my question for everyone is, do you believe you have adequate protection against a potential climate disaster in your area? I don't need your answer, but I believe that everyone should ask themselves this question to determine whether they are at risk or not, currently, or maybe in the future. So the climate can be our enemy in certain parts of the world. So we need to build our own resilience and our own security for our lives. So I introduce my video presentation. So Johan, you can start from the beginning, please.
My name is Susana Martinez, and I am here to tell the story of the Dana of Valencia, my region in Spain. It was a climate catastrophe that we suffered on October 2024. I am a Servas member, and Servas is an international organization that promotes peace through the contact between cultures and people. And we believe that the peace starts within ourselves. But it is impossible to live in peace without security. So in this presentation, I want to highlight the lack of security we had during the Dana storm and encourage citizens all over the world to assess the security of their homes in face of potential climate disasters. I'm going to explain what the Dana is. So the Dana is a phenomenon of the climate with heavy rains and strong winds. And it occurs when a cool air stream collides with a warm and humid air mass. So in the late summer and the early autumn, it is very common in the Mediterranean coast. And in Valencia, my region, we suffer danas every year. So in 2024, we suffered the worst tragedy since October 1957, when we had a big floods destroying the half of the city of Valencia. At this time, the city was safe because in the 60s, the government decided to divert the Turia River out of the city to prevent future floods. So in the next slide, you can see the black area with an average rainfall of 600 liters per square meter, and the red area with an average rainfall of 300 liters for a square meter. This area had a really fast floods because all this amount of rain was the same rainfall like all the year rainfall in all the region. So in the next slide, you can see all the areas damaged, but not for the rain, for the wave, because all of this water create a wave, like a tsunami, from the rain area to the sea. So it was 80 kilometers from the west and 60 kilometers to the south. All of these areas in blue, you can see, it was the areas devastated for the Dana. So the Dana storm in October 2024, the forecast was 300 liters per square meter. And in some areas, we reached 780 liters. So the forecast was inaccurate. All the infrastructures in the area was not enough to collect all this amount of rain. So all the riverbeds and the ravines became waterways overflowed, flooding every town they passed through, and carrying tons and tons of mud and waste. So all of those tons and tons of water, mud, cars, trees, animals, and everything else you can imagine swept away by the wave, devastated 72 towns in Valencia. The wave swept through villages, roads, bridges, crops, farms, industrial parks, shopping centers, and the most important thing, we lost 235 lives. Citizens did not receive warning on time from the authorities or the government. So Valencian people will never forget that day and all we lost, including the innocence of believing we were safe and protected. The desolation of seeing everything destroyed, the economic ruin of so many families, and the pain of feeling abandoned were everywhere. So the alert sent to the people mobile phones arrived several hours later due to ineptitude of the emergency management team. So in many places, it wasn't raining at all, so people were going the normal life, doing shopping, driving home from work, walking on the street, unaware of the danger they were in. Those responsible for alerting the public wasting the time. And we feel that there was completely lack of protocols and emergency planning. And when the citizens finally received the unuseful alarm, several hours later, we felt like a second stroke. I want you to imagine that night. Neighbors organized rescue from lower floors, the people with water up to their necks. The next morning, the streets were buried in mud and debris. Many towns were isolated by destroyed roads and bridges. And institutional aid never arrived on time. So the people were frustrated and completely lost faith in the institution and the security they were supposed to provide. So we received another tsunami, a wave of solidarity and empathy. Thousands of volunteers, armed with buckets and brooms, crossed the bridges to help their neighbors, to bring them a little peace. So every day, thousands of people went to the devastated areas to help with the battle of the mud. So 16 months later, after the tragedy, the emergency is not only what happened this day, it's also what remains. Mud is still present in streets and underground parkings, football fields turned into dumping grounds, school destroyed, children learning in portable classrooms, business that will never reopen because funding is not enough to rebuild. It will take many years to rebuild our life and our own security. all the people who have lived a climate disaster like this, we have an obligation to not forget it. And we have the responsibility to analyze what happened and its consequences in order to find ways to increase our safety in future climate disasters. Because we are the main responsibles of our security. We need to learn from the mistake of the past. We must not forget our history. Thank you very much.
So thank you to watch the video, and I want to ask everyone all over the world if they have their own enough security about about any climate event, and because the climate is changing, and we don't know how will be our future. So we need to build our own security, our own resilience to be stronger in the future. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Susanna. And I think it's clear over and over again how communities have come forward and succeeded in doing what institutions haven't been able to do. And it's unfortunate that we have to resort to such measures, but thank you. It's that you shared this with us. So I don't see any questions in the chat, but and we are more or less close to coming to the end of the session. But if anybody wants to ask any questions toward the ends, or might want a very short comment, then the floor, you can please put it in the chat, and I will ask the particular speaker that you would like to address the question to. Yes, so we have a question, someone who's raised their hand. Yes, please.
Thank you for these stories. I'm wondering how these powerful stories, can you hear me?
Yes, you're.
Yeah. I'm wondering how these powerful stories can be told outside of this program. I live in a region in Northern California where we have a number of firestorms prior to the horrible one in Southern California. And at that time, we had a hard time getting the story out nationally. And it's not until these big occurrences happening in Spain, all over the world, do they make national news. But we're still not prepared. And I think these stories, individual stories being told in communities, will make a bigger difference. So I just give a big shout out for the brilliance of telling these stories and the importance of gathering you all together. But I think, does anyone have any ideas of carrying this further beside this? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us, Mary. So if there are no further questions, I think we will close the session for now. And in conclusion, I think it's been very clear from all the presentations that we've seen today by these remarkable women, that women form the vanguard during and after the climate crisis, and that they are the ambassadors of change and climate justice. So it is high time that we give women the opportunity, but also the support to bring about change in terms of equality, equity, and sustainability, something that they are already doing in such a fabulous way. And on that note, I would like to thank our panelists, all of them, for their wonderful presentations today, and also to our tech support. And many thanks to all the attendees who joined us for the session today. So we have one more session tomorrow if you are interested in it's going to be equally valuable. So the session is about social justice in Kenyan homes, gender-based violence, law, culture, and pathway to community support. We'd be very happy to have you all also join us tomorrow. So thank you once again, and a good evening or good night, whatever is the time at your end.